Think of Databricks not as a single product, but as a sequence of problems being solved over time. Databricks evolved by addressing multiple challenges step by step. And today, we are focusing on one of the most important piece of that evolution, Delta Lake. Welcome to my channel guys, That Databricks Guy. And in this video, we'll clearly understand what Delta Lake is and how it fits into Databricks. As data volume grew, traditional systems were no longer sufficient. Databricks commercialized Apache Spark as a distributed computing platform to handle large-scale data processing. However, compute alone was not enough. Data was typically stored as Parquet files in cloud object storage like ADLS or S3. While this approach was scalable and cost-effective, it lacked transactional guarantees, schema enforcement, and safe updates and deletes. And this often led to corrupt data, broken pipelines, and unreliable analytics. To solve this problem, Databricks introduced Delta Lake around 2017 and later made it open source to avoid any vendor lock-in. Delta Lake transformed the cloud storage from simple, cheap files into reliable transactional tables. And using optimized operation, Delta Lake solves small file problem by replacing them with large optimized size files. And Databricks provides auto-optimize feature, which we will see in demo. As discussed in previous video, the industry needed a lakehouse solution. Why? To unify data engineering, data analytics, and machine learning on the same data without duplication. And Delta Lake became the foundation of lakehouse architecture in Databricks. To understand Delta Lake better, let us briefly understand lakehouse architecture. Lakehouse combines the capabilities of data lake and data warehouse. Data lake is a low-cost object storage which stores raw data in any format, which is commonly used for ingestion, exploration, and ML experiment. But it lacks strong guarantees around data quality, consistency, reliable analytics, transactional integrity, and governance. And data warehouse, it is a structured and optimized solution for SQL analytics and BI. It stores clean and modeled data, provides strong consistency and performance, but it is expensive, rigid, and not ideal for raw streaming or ML workload. Lakehouse combines the best of both worlds. Here is a tabular difference between data lake, data warehouse, and lakehouse. A lakehouse was designed to keep low-cost object storage for data lake, add reliability, governance, and performance of warehouse, support BI, streaming, ML, and AI on same data, remove data copies and system silos, enable transactional data with asset properties. This briefly explains what lakehouse architecture is. If you want a dedicated video on further explanation of lakehouse architecture, let me know in the comments. Now back to our topic, Delta Lake and Databricks. Delta Lake makes the lakehouse design possible by adding transactions, schema control, and time travel on top of cloud data lakes. Delta Lake is the storage layer that gives your data lake the reliability of a warehouse. Simply, if the lakehouse is the building, then Delta Lake is the steel frame that keeps it from collapsing under the weight of big data. At this point, you might be wondering, how is all of this done? Let me simplify it. The word delta comes from Greek alphabet and it is commonly used as a symbol for change or difference. And Delta Lake works by tracking every change made to the data. So inside a delta table, there are mainly two things. As you can see on screen, first, the actual data, which is still stored in Parquet files. And yes, Delta Lake does not replace Parquet files. And the second one is the transaction log. This transaction log stores JSON files inside the Delta log folder. Whenever data changes, whether it is an insert, update, delete, or merge, Delta Lake records that change as a new entry in transaction log. This log keeps track of which Parquet file were added or removed for that change. And you can find all of this information in these JSON files. To keep things fast, Delta Lake periodically creates checkpoint, and over time, old and unused data files can be safely cleaned up using vacuum based on simple retention rule. It is this transaction log combined with Parquet data that allows Delta Lake to provide its key capabilities. Key capabilities that Delta Lake brings: first, asset transactions. Multiple jobs can safely read and write data without corruption. Second, schema enforcement and evolution. It prevents bad data while allowing controlled schema changes. Third, time travel. Query historical version of data for debugging, rollback, and auditing. Fourth, efficient updates and deletes. Enables change data capture patterns, GDPR, deletes, and merge operations. Fifth, batch and streaming unification. The same table supports both streaming ingestions and batch analytics. Other than these, Databricks offer some advanced capabilities built on top of Delta Lake, like liquid clustering, Z ordering, deletion vectors, uniform, etc. Delta Lake gives us reliability, and Databricks build intelligent optimizations on top of it. We have covered good amount of theory. Now is the time to get real understanding with the help of a demo. Let us come to the homepage of Databricks Free Edition. I hope you would have created the Databricks account for yourself. If not, then I showed how to create the Databricks Free Edition account in my previous video. So go ahead, check it out and create an account for yourself if not done already. The first thing that we will do is to upload a sample data on which we can perform certain operations to understand how actually Delta works on Databricks. To upload the data, we go to an option called catalog on the left side. Now in this catalog, Databricks provides some sample data of its own, but it does not allow us to perform DML operations on it. It is just for querying and analytics purpose. So I'm uploading a very small sample data of my mole. Now to upload the data, I'll go on this plus symbol, add data. Now there are certain options here, like create or modify table. You can directly create a table using your sample data, upload files to a volume, and other sources. There are so many other sources from which we can get the data. Now if you are wondering what this catalog is, basically it is a part of Unity Catalog in Databricks, which is a centralized governance layer that separates metadata from data. In the free edition, data is stored in Databricks managed cloud storage, and Unity Catalog manages the metadata, access control, and lineage. We'll understand Unity Catalog in good depth in the Unity Catalog playlist. Okay. For now, just understand that this is the default governance layer of Databricks, where it manages data on its cloud and metadata using Unity Catalog. So if I go to plus, add data, I'll upload file to a volume. I have a CSV file of sample data. Why I'm not creating a table? Because we don't know where the table gets stored. It is the managed storage of Databricks. We don't know the location of it, and we cannot visualize the Delta log. That's why I'm not directly creating a table. I am uploading file to a volume. But what volume actually is? So in terms of Unity Catalog is an object, but understand it as a directory or folder which contains file of any format. You see, upload any file format up to 5 GB. So I'm uploading a file from my computer, sales CSV, and I have to select a catalog and a schema, and then create a volume so that this file sales.csv resides inside this volume. But why do I have to select catalog and schema? So to answer this, let's quickly see what Databricks follow. So Unity Catalog object model. Unity Catalog follows 3-level database object hierarchy, which consists of catalog, then schema, and then objects. And this volume is one of the object. But for now, just understand we use catalog.schema.object. An object could be one of any of these. Back to our topic. So I'm creating a volume And you see there are two options, managed and external. For now, I'm choosing managed because I don't want to go on some external cloud. And managed is something that is managed by Databricks. So we don't have to worry about anything. Okay. Let me create volume delta dim. So you see, catalog is workspace, schema is default, and I create it. Delta demo is the volume. So once my delta demo volume is created, I just click upload and the file is uploaded in this volume. How can I confirm if this is uploaded or not? I go to catalog, workspace, my catalog, schema, default schema, and you see there is one volume, delta dim. I click on this volume and go to files. Does it contain any file? Yes, sales file 29 seconds ago. To perform operations on this data, let us create a new notebook from this option, new notebook. Let me minimize this now. Let me rename the notebook from here to delta demo. Now, first thing I'll do is read the data. I have sales file and I'll just click on this arrow and the entire path comes here. The first thing that you would notice is the serverless is turned off. If I click on this serverless, it will just start within 5 seconds. Okay, now it is up. So, to read the data, what I'll do is I'll create a data frame as spark.read. So I'll just run this, and now on to run, I'll press Control Enter. Okay, that is faster and easier method. Let's see what kind of data do we have. We have a table of 10 records with transaction ID, customer ID, product amount, and transaction date. Since this is a CSV file and we are demoing Delta today, let us write this data frame as Delta first. Now you see it suggests something automatically. This is the new Databricks. This is the AI of Databricks, which suggests us further code. So if I just press tab, it takes everything. And if I want to take some things word by word, I'll press control and forward arrow. I'm selecting mode override and save. Where do I want to save? I want to save it here in the same catalog, same schema and the volume, but I'm giving another delta folder here, this sales, with the name sales. Now, if I remove the format delta from here and just run this, I press Control Enter. What do you think should happen? Let's go to this path, workspace, default, delta demo, and you see sales. This is volume folder. So if I expand this, you see a delta log. That means Databricks by default uses delta format. Okay. If I expand this delta log, what do I see? I see many things. Let me expand this for you. And zoom a little bit on here. Inside the sales folder, I see a delta log, and inside the delta log, I see multiple things. Let's see one by one. First one is the Parquet file. So as we saw earlier in this video that Delta still uses Parquet format. It stores the file or actual data as Parquet, but it adds transactional logs on the top of it. And those transaction logs, we'll find it in Delta log inside this JSON file. Now, if you want to see the actual content of this JSON file, what we can do is we can go on the home page again, go to that Delta log, and go to files of sales, then delta log and JSON. If I click on this JSON, I'll be able to see the content of this JSON. So you see, this contains all the transactional information, the commit info, the number of files which were added or removed, the metadata of the entire sales file, the Parquet path which has been added, and lot more information are present in this JSON file. So this is the entire transactional log which makes Delta what it is. Let us come back to the notebook. Now in Delta log, you would also see staged commit. Staged commit is a temporary holding area for commits that are being prepared but not yet finalized. And also a c.crc file. What is this? CRC file are checksum files which are created by file system to verify that the Delta transaction log files were written correctly and are not corrupted. So basically, it checks the corresponding JSON log file and prevents the reading of corrupted metadata. Now, I'm using some pre-written code to save time. And since we have written the data in Delta format, how do we read or how do we visualize the data in the notebook? We visualize it using this, a Delta object, we call it. So it says delta table dot for path and the path to our Delta folder. To use this command, we'll need to import Delta table. So I'll import from delta.tables, import Delta table. Let me run this. It is done. Now this Delta object should get created. So it is now created. Now once this Delta object is created, we can perform certain things and see what Delta is all about. So let us first see the history. Delta object dot history. Okay, let me run this. Now, what does it show? It shows a version. Till now we have only written one file as Delta. So it shows only one version and the versioning starts from 0. Okay. You see timestamp when it was written, the user who wrote it, the operation is right, mode is override, and there are so many things that you can see about the Delta object that has been created. You see number of files. It says number of file written 1. Number of output rows. There are 10 rows in the data, so it shows that correctly. Okay. So this information is present here in the history as well of Delta object. We can find this kind of information in the JSON as well, and from the object we can see the history. If we want to actually visualize it as data frame, I can do just delta object.2df and do a display. So now we can see this is the correct Delta object that we are referring to in the form of a df, we can see. Now if you're confused and you're not familiar with PySpark, this is just for visualizing how actually Delta log looks on the UI of Databricks. If I do this with tables in SQL query, so as I mentioned earlier, it is some managed location, and the logs which we are able to see here, we will not be able to see on the UI. At least we can be able to see it in history and all, but not here. And I believe that to get a better understanding, it is essential to visualize things clearly. Now, one thing that I can do is I can perform an update operation. Okay. Look at this. What I'm doing is on the Delta object, I'm updating amount when customer ID is C001. And I'm changing the amount to amount plus 100. It will throw an error that call is not defined. So we'll need to define the object call. So let me do it here itself. So it suggests things automatically. PySpark.sql the function. Let me import star because I may need other functions as well. Let me run this. And this is also suggested it here. So since I've already imported, I'm rejecting it here. And now if I run this and if I see the data frame now, you see for C001, it has added 100 to all the 3 records. Earlier it was 1200, 300 and 120. And now it is 1300, 400 and 220. So how does Delta capture it? Let us see how Delta captured it in the history. Let us run history command again. See here, Earlier we had only one version, that was version 0 of write. But now we have another version 1 of update. We have updated a record with customer ID C001. It shows it here. And it also shows many things, many other things, like number of files added, number of rows updated. There is one more thing called number deletion vector added. Now, what is this deletion vector? Just a marking inside the delta that these particular rows are either updated or deleted. It does not actually delete the original data. It just mark it as updated or deleted, and the original data resides. Now, that is what the beauty of transaction log is. It just marks the data as deleted or updated. But you would wonder, since we have only done a write and update, how this a third operation optimize came. So this is an auto optimize feature of Databricks, where it auto optimizes and solves the small file problem. Now, what operations are being performed here? You see, it has removed the files and it has added only one file. But all of these are just markings. Okay, these are not actual removal of data. So if we see here, we still have 3 Parquet files, but the removed 2 are just marked in JSON. These 2 files are removed, and the data, the final data, is in this one file which has been added lately. So whenever someone read this delta data, they have to read only one file which the JSON will point to. Okay, they will not need to read multiple files. So that is how optimize works. Now the next thing, let us do one more thing of deleting something from the data. So with the condition, I'm deleting the row where product is laptop. Let's run this. And if I see the data now, after deleting, I find only 9 records. There is no laptop as expected. But again, if I go and see the history of it, there is one more operation that has been added, which is delete on the version 3. And then it gives us the detail of what has been deleted, and then which reader version, what was it working up on, number of files removed. There was no files removed, but just one deletion vector that has been added again. Number of rows deleted. So it gives all the information in the history. Now, next, let me delete some other rows. But by mistake, I deleted everything. You see? Although that was a deliberate mistake, but to show you how time travel works, I deleted everything. And if you see the history, it says delete and number of files removed. The one file which was created by optimize, it has removed this file. Okay, so data is removed from here. Now if someone reads the data from this delta, they will not be able to see, like this one. Okay, they will not see any rows. But do you think the data has actually been deleted? No. Why? Because delta maintains this version. And when we go to the delta log and delta folder, we see the actual file, the Parquet files are still here. And the transaction logs are being stored in these JSON files. Okay. So if I want to restore my data, what I can do is I can just go to previous version, whichever I want to restore. So delta object dot restore, and version 3 was the previous version. So let me run this and restore the version. And I will see the history after restoring. So you see, there is one more version that has been added. So it keeps on adding versions on top of the previous version. And it says the operation restore has been performed. And version 3 has been pulled back. You can see number of files restored 1 and other things in this operation matrix. But now let us consider if a customer wants to get his data deleted permanently. Is it possible? Because we can see that versions are being stored. Even if I delete a customer's data, let's say I'm deleting customer data with customer ID C001, it will get deleted and it will not show up if someone queries the data. But do you think the data is actually deleted? No, right? Why? Because if we see I'm running this history command, we'll see a new version being added for removal of this customer. Okay, and Databricks have performed one more optimization now. So the customer has been removed, but I can always go back and see the details of this customer in previous versions. That is not what customer would need. Customer needed his data to be deleted entirely and permanently. So that can be possible with a command called vacuum. Now what vacuum does is, vacuum deletes the unusable files for real. Till now, the previous Parquet files which stored older data is not yet removed physically from this folder. The Parquet files are not physically removed from this Delta log, from this Delta folder. And this is the reason why I'm showing you using the UI. Okay, we would not be able to see this clearly in the table. So you see the previous Parquet files are also held here and it contains the previous data. So if I go back to previous versions, I will be able to see this customer's data. If I want to delete it permanently, first I delete it from here so that our transaction log knows that this record is no longer usable, and then we run a vacuum command. Okay, so Delta object is our object, vacuum 0. 0 means 0 hours. We give hours. So delete all the records which is not useful or not usable in our transaction log. So transaction log says, you can see here, removed one file and added one file. So this is the final thing that transaction log says. It says added one file. So it will just keep this file and remove physically. Actually, it will remove, the vacuum command will actually remove the Parquet files. And 0 means delete anything which is not useful since 0 hours before. By default, if I do not give anything, the default retention is 7 days. And according to your company policy or according to policy of any company, we can change this retention in hours. So let's say if I have the policy of retaining the data of a customer 30 days since it is deleted from the table. So I just mentioned 720 hours, which is 30 days. Okay. So if I want to delete anything which is not useful right now, I can give 0. But the free edition does not allow us to do this. Okay. It will fail here because this vacuum 0 is not allowed by free edition. We can do it in paid edition of it, which provides all the functionalities. Okay. But anyway, vacuum 0 is not something that we would want to do because it deletes all the previous data and time travel will not be possible anymore. But just wanted you to know that if someone wants to delete the data permanently and physically, this is how we can do it. In the beginning, we started our video by telling how Databricks evolved by solving problems in layers. First compute, then reliable storage, then unified architecture. Databricks also solved problems of data design using Medallion architecture. Finally, scalable governance using Unity Catalog. Both of which we will see in subsequent videos. So, to conclude how Delta Lake fits, Delta Lake sits at the center of this evolution. Next, in upcoming videos, we will see demos on more key capabilities and other advanced Delta Lake concepts in Databricks. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful, like and share the video, subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment with feedback or questions. See you in the next video. Till then, let's build something intelligent.